The second wave of layoffs is here, now hitting well-paid jobs. From the start, the activity cuts hit lower-level workers at retailers, lodgings, eateries, rec centers, cinemas, and so forth. At retailers alone, more than 1 million individuals got terminated in April, and afterward retailers began tending to their corporate positions. At that point, carriers, compelled by the bailout bundle they took under the CARES Act, offered deliberate buyouts and early retirements. Multitudinous organizations have discreetly laid off laborers. Numerous organizations have closed down, and all the providers to the businesses that were hardest hit were additionally hit as the issue spiraled up the flexible chains. By July, after a considerable lot of these organizations, those that were still near, had as of now reopened, there were more than 32 million individuals gathering joblessness protection. At an opportune time in the pandemic, enormous tech organizations said that they would not lay off individuals for the present. In any case, they eased back their recruiting or quit employing. So cafes have been resuming and they have recruited back a portion of their staff. However, many stay shut, and a bit may never return in their earlier structure. Also, retailers have resumed a portion of their stores and rehired staff. However, numerous stores were forever covered. Exercise centers and cinemas are attempting to resume under monstrous troubles, as are stylists, boutiques, nail salons, and so forth. While hundreds of thousands of these lower-paid personnel are now being delivered again, and we see that taking place in all places. An entire new wave of layoffs has been constructing momentum, and now it's well-paid jobs with first-rate advantages at large companies, such as tech companies, that are being shed. We both a dose of these big company layoffs over the previous few days. Salesforce validated rumors that it used to be laying off 1,000 personnel later this year. Back at the C's of March, it had stated that it wouldn't do any layoffs for 90 days. Those 90 days expired about 2 months ago, and so on. It's time to reduce expenses and shed employees. Not so ironically, the information got here the day after Salesforce beat revenue expectations for the quarter, and its shares skyrocketed 26% in simply one day. Any layoff information is usually welcome on Wall Street, the larger the higher, as a signal of price reducing and enhancements in salary per share. On Friday, Coca-Cola Company, which had been hit via a 28% plunge into the quarter revenues, introduced that it would provide voluntary buyouts to about 4,000 personnel with some seniority in the United States, Puerto Rico, and Canada, and that it would lay off different employees. It additionally stated that it would trim and reorganize its company shape through changing 17 current enterprise gadgets with simply 9 new commercial enterprise units. Logistics large and freight dealer C.H. Robinson delivered a new spin to the theme of not bringing back furloughed workers. In April, it had stated it would quickly furlough out 7% of its team of workers, or about 1,000 people. But now it turns out that it won't convey lower back thousands of them due to the fact their jobs had been automatic for the duration of their absence. And these jobs disappeared permanently, as the business enterprise instructed buyers recently, and they would become, as it stated, permanent fee financial savings from our investment in tech. Wells Fargo, which has slashed its dividend by way of 80%, is now attempting to reduce prices to please its shareholders. Early on in the pandemic, the bank, like so many different massive companies, had introduced that it would put a moratorium on job cuts. It has now ended that moratorium. A spokesperson, in confirming the rumors, instructed Bloomberg News that beginning in early August, the financial institution resumed normal job displacement activity. They did not provide numbers, but this may also finally lead to tens of heaps of jobs getting reduced over the subsequent many months, sources said. In the statement, the financial institution informed Bloomberg that it expects to limit the dimension of the personnel through attrition and removing of open roles and job displacement. There is still a burden of workers to cut. These layoffs were planned before the pandemic, but were put on hold during the pandemic. Then there are additional discounts, new ones, including weight loss management tires. According to sources, the final extent of these cuts has not yet been decided. It's like an onion. The more we do it, the clearer the next round, CEO Charlie Scharf told analysts during his July earnings call, and I think these tours are getting clearer. As for the theme of turning temporary leaves into permanent layoffs, MGM Resorts said Friday, when revenues fell 91% in the second quarter, shaken by the tourism collapse and the closure of casinos and other venues. It would lay off 18,000 workers on temporary leave in the US in March. This is more than a quarter of the workforce in the United States. Casinos in Nevada were allowed to reopen in early June, but gambling revenues in Las Vegas were still down nearly 40% in July compared to July last year. There are also social distance requirements and capacity constraints that make casino operations more difficult, and MGM still has not opened all of its casinos. In early August, NBC Universal, a unit of Comcast, began reducing 10% of its workforce in broadcast and cable television departments, film studios, and amusement parks. During this same 4-week period, the total number of people with unemployment insurance fell by 4 million, from 31 million to 27 million. This means that 4 million more people are returning to work than they were newly made redundant. But most of the people returning to their jobs work in lower paid side of the service sector, in retail, in restaurants, and the hospitality industry. And at the same time, big manufacturers, tech companies, airlines, entertainment companies, and the like are now reducing a lot of jobs. Some sort of sector rotation of layoffs, where layoffs have turned into sectors with higher paying and decent social benefits, hit many donated in the first months of the pandemic. And this is another bad change presented by the pandemic economy.
Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.